to the finale episode of the Dev Morning Show at Night. My name is Cassidy Williams, and I am accompanied, as always, by my wonderful, talented, delightful co-host, Zach Plata. Hey, Zach.
Hey, Cass. It is so bittersweet to have, the end of this season.
I know.
How are you feeling?
End of an era. I feel like we've seen so many cool people and gotten to chat about so many fun projects and everything. It's been a blast. I've enjoyed it. I don't know about you, but it's been fun.
Oh, yes. Oh, it's been so fun.
Yeah.
I'm excited to dig into some of those moments.
Yeah, and so today we're going to take a look back at some of our favorite moments from the show, some cool old tech that we saw that people still owned, and also some bloopers that you might not have seen before. But first, Zach, what has been your favorite part of the show?
Obviously, doing this with you, Cass.
What?
What?
Same.
With you. But also really just getting to know how people came into the industry, I think. There's a lot of people that, it was crazy that they are where they are now and just either started programming in the pandemic when things kind of turned to poop or, have been titans in the industry for years and years. And just seeing how, where they got to be founders or really high level engineers and tech leads and stuff. And it's always fun hearing those stories. How about yours?
It's inspiring. It's so cool. I think for me, I've really loved seeing just what project ideas and domain names people squat on. I didn't expect to enjoy that one as much. I remember when we first wrote that question, I mostly just wanted to roast people for squatting on domains because I do the same thing. But some people have some great ideas and projects and things, and I've really just enjoyed seeing which ones are things that they're actually working on, which ones are ones that they want to work on, and I like hearing those because you also kind of think about and get to see what makes people tick and what gets people excited because it's a side project. It's something that they want to do.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I feel like most people, we'll have a lot of conversations about work things, but this is really. It was nice to hear how, people have these side project ideas that they want to do. And hopefully we'll see some of them come to fruition. I think a few of them are oh, well, we need to track that and follow.
I like the people where they're just well, now that this episode is coming out, I guess I have to do it.
True.
Yeah.
We provide the motivation.
Exactly. I've definitely gotten some domain names as a result of some of the episodes. Have I built anything with them? No. But the idea... The idea is present.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
And now, for the last time, Launch Darkly. The Dev Morning Show at Night is a sponsored podcast. I mean, someone has to pay the bills around here. We're sponsored by Launch Darkly, and Launch Darkly is the first scalable feature management platform. That means dev teams can innovate and get better software to customers faster. How? By gradually releasing new software features and shipping code whenever they want, fast-tracking their journeys to the cloud, and building stronger relationships with business teams. Thanks for the money, Launch Darkly.
Once again, Launch Darkly, thanks again. It's been a blast. All right, let's get into this. We always talk to our guests about what their oldest piece of tech is, and we have had a wonderful display of show and tell over the season. Let's take a look.
My oldest piece of technology is my Teddy Ruxpin with both tapes, if you can believe. It's not super operational, his mouth doesn't move, but it'll play the tapes. So I'm thinking of making a taxidermy out of this.
This might be one of the oldest pieces I have in the office. So this is a core memory stack from a CDC mainframe. So this is core memory. I don't remember how many bits of memory it is, but I can see down in there the cores are really big. So this is just probably the icon to launch your web browser on your desktop has more storage than this.
I have a VCR that I fished out of the in-laws' basement.
So I think I have an original Game Boy in there and an Atari, but I actually think I have something older, which is this little guy here. I do the makeup brush kind of technique. So this is a vacuum tube from the 70s. I think this one was made for the French military, and this will make so much sense in a second, I promise. So I have two of these that I specifically ordered online. I specifically wanted these mullet ones, which again were produced by the UK in the 70s for the French military, and you use them these days on tube rolling your headphone amps.
So I have all of these old phones, including, check this little guy out. This is flip phone that still works, by the way, from, I don't know, it must have been like sometime like 2010 to 2012-ish, I would say. But like this thing there's apps on here. I had forgotten that this was a thing, but before smartphones, you'd have like little email apps, and there's even Twitter on this thing, which I think is just hilarious. So that's fun. And Reekers stickers, of course. But that's not even the oldest phone I own. So fun little pandemic project I did early lockdown era. I built a landline, like see-through phone that I went on eBay and bought from the 90s, a like DIY build your own phone kit.
All right, some of this tech was older than we are, first of all, and also I think Chloe's Teddy Ruxpin doll kind of haunted me a little bit, but besides that, there was really cool. Good nostalgia.
Yes, I for sure related to the old flip phones. I feel like that's something I've never thrown away, and I don't know why I can't.
They're just so good, and I'm glad that flip phones are kind of coming back now too, because it's really satisfying to just hang up and snap it closed. We got to bring that back.
Yeah, with flip phones, I just remember the craze, like when we were in like grade school, and everyone was just like, "Do you have the newest Razor phone? Do you have this fancy color?" And I feel like, 20 years from now, they're going to be like, "Oh my gosh, do you remember iPhones?"
I know,
and it'll
right?
be some
Like,
new thing.
People cared about iPhone versus Android and stuff. Wow. I also really appreciated that Suze had that vacuum tube for her audio setup, and she was like, "I'm not an audiophile, but," and then proceeds to explain the most like legit setup I've heard.
Seriously, I did not quite understand all of that, but I was like, respect.
Yeah,
that's
major
awesome.
respect. So what's the oldest piece of tech you own, Zach?
I will have my flip phone somewhere in storage, but probably the closest thing to me right now, because I've just thrown it in a junk pile nearby, is my PlayStation 3 controller. Now that PS5 has gained all the traction from all the games coming out, I'm like, I don't know why I kept this. I don't have a PS3, I think, but there's a controller. How about you?
There's also something to be said about the fact that the design for the controllers hasn't really changed over all of the years.
Yeah.
They
I
really
love it.
Found something at work and stuck with it. I am pretty sure I have a Game Boy Color somewhere in my home, but I couldn't find it. But I could find my graphing calculator that I used in high school. And
oh, man.
it's still... Oh, I was about to say it still works. I think I need to change the batteries. But I have used it in the past year. I still use a calculator on occasion for things when it's like just a little more than basic math and stuff. I don't fully understand how to do all the programs and modes and stuff, and I don't need to use all of them anymore, but I have it, and it'll be street
the one
cred
where you
for
could...
something.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's always good to have street cred. Yeah. Is that the one where you could like play games on it? I remember some people would like play Tetris and things.
I think you could. I never did because I was afraid of breaking it. But I do know that you could, like with the TI-83, 84, and like 89, you could like plug it into a computer and do stuff. I do remember I had a teacher that said like if you can program it, you can use it in high school, where she was just like, if you can program it, you can use it on like physics tests and stuff. And I programmed everything into this graphing calculator, but the thing is, I realized, wait, this was a trick. she was just getting us to study by programming it into the calculator. And I ended up not needing to use all of the notes and stuff that I programmed into it by hand too, not even on the computer and like installing it, like straight up, like all of the letters and everything on here, you have to hit like alpha and then the letter. I was doing that for every single letter and programming this thing. Good times.
Those are good times.
Kids these days don't know.
What is the most interesting tech that you own?
So, as I was digging around trying to find the Game Boy Color, I found something that I find particularly interesting, and that is my Google Glass. Because I was one of those startup bros back in the day.
Oh my gosh.
Who walked around. And I remember, when I got this, I lived in such a bubble. Because I got this when I was living in Silicon Valley, and like it was the cool thing to have Google Glass. And also, I don't know if I can put this on like with my headphones, so I'll try while I explain this. But anyway, I thought I was the coolest kid in the world for having this Google Glass. I'd wear it to meetups where like half the people there had Google Glass. You could like swipe on the side and tap and like take a picture and stuff like that. I thought I was the neatest thing. And then I went back to the Midwest and realized I had been living in such a bubble. I remember like walking around with it and like strutting my stuff, taking pictures, and then being like, oh no, I look like a dork. Oh, this isn't actually cool. This is dumb. That was a real growing moment for me.
I think it was cool. I remember you brought that out in college, and I was like, oh my gosh, definitely the coolest person in our major by far.
Watch out. It was definitely like, again, street cred with nerds, but unfortunately, the nerd faction is not as big as one might like to think when you're trying to be cool.
Yeah. I feel like Google could have done more to make it like more aesthetic looking like regular glasses.
I don't know what you're talking about. I like that it covers all of my eyebrows, so it looks like I could have shaved them off.
Oh, that was a design choice.
Yeah, man, I haven't worn this thing in ages. It's just flashbacks.
Trippy.
Anyway, what's some of the coolest tech you own, Zach?
This one isn't actually like a piece of like modern technology, I suppose, but it's one that you introduced me to when I first moved into my house. It is the damp rid.
Yeah.
And
that
there's no
really
label on it, but I had no idea these things existed. Where maybe for those of you who aren't familiar, it's kind of just this bucket, and it has these like little sphere ball things inside, and it just attracts water. So, you know, maybe you've got like a water leak from somewhere, or there's a lot of moisture in the air. This thing the balls will like suck it up, and then it turns into water eventually, and then it all just becomes water, and it's so cool.
It's so cool, like especially in basements and stuff. It's just it's nice to have just in case there's like too much moisture in the air somewhere, and it's like low tech but also still kind of cool tech.
Yes. I was like, oh my gosh, I need this immediately.
Yeah. It's a game. It actually has been a game changer. We have it like in our laundry room and in various spots. I should say laundry closet, but
yeah. And moving on to memorable guest quotes. So this season, we've had a bunch of people talk about words of wisdom. Was there a guest for you that particularly stood out that, had some interesting stuff to say?
Man, there were so many good ones where it's always fun because on this show, I pretty much always walked away inspired by something, which I feel so spoiled by saying that. But I particularly was struck by what Ciora Ford had to say just about networking in general. because she came into the industry in 2020 in the pandemic, and she didn't have any connections or anything to the tech industry, but she figured out how to market herself really well, and I think she just did a great job of that.
I use a lot of like content strategy and social media strategy to get myself out there. And then like along the way, you genuinely, it's not just like networking, you genuinely build meaningful relationships with people that like will probably be lifelong. So it's all around a good thing. I think if you can, it takes time, but if you can find the time to do a little bit every day, like it really helps.
It's so awesome to hear that she did that during the pandemic when people like literally were not meeting in person most of the time. And you have to find ways to get your name out there. I commend her and everyone who has that ability. And it really is a skill that you just kind of have to like learn and practice on.
Yeah, it's a muscle you have to build.
Yeah.
Because it's not really natural to put yourself out there. Like some people find it easier than others, but it's such an important thing to be able to put that effort forth and actually put yourself out there so that people can put themselves out there to you as well and build those connections. And I think that's something that, especially in this digital world, it's more accessible than ever, but also more challenging than ever. And so it's something that you have to work on, but it's worth it for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Zach, whose advice did you resonate with the most for the people who gave advice about getting into the industry and for working in general?
Also very tough because everyone had a lot to say about it. Maybe one that really stood out is when we had Julie Yang on, and she talked about the importance of prioritizing your work in this kind of hybrid and remote environment. Let's take a look.
Especially in a hybrid or full remote work position, people try to demonstrate that they're on the job or that they're working. And so the most visible way to do this day to day ends up being responsiveness. And so people are like always breaking their focus time to respond to work, chat, email, whatever. Or some people just like helping other people and interacting when they're at home with their coworkers through these chat programs. Anyway, I think it turns out to be like a fire drill kind of way of working where you just work on whatever pops up, which I don't think is necessarily the most prioritized way of working.
I think once again, this advice was really great for the environment that we're working in now in a pandemic/post-pandemic world, because there's so much to be said for always being online and always being available and being that person who can be just like, yeah, you can ping me at any time and I'll respond to you. But you don't want to constantly be that person, because eventually you will be always prioritizing what other people need of you rather than the way that you like to work and the things that you want to do.
Yeah, totally. It's something that I think we've all thought about, or at least for those, working in completely remote environments or even semi-remote environments where, because you're not seen in an office, you're like, okay, well, I need to make myself seen so, I look like I'm doing something and I look efficient. But it can really be detrimental if you're not prioritizing, like your own focus time and heads down work, especially when you really need it most. So it was great to just think about that in a different way. Yeah.
I ended up reading a book soon after we recorded the episode, actually, called Make Time. And in that book, it's one of those productivity books, but also kind of it can be broken up and you can kind of read it ad hoc, and it's more of like a resource than anything. And one of the points that it made, which reminded me of this, was that if you treat your inbox as your own to-do list of all the things that you have to do, you end up developing like this kind of unhealthy relationship with being as responsive as you can to all of these people, when really you should think of your inbox as your to-do list for other people, or rather other people's to-do list for you rather than your to-do list for other people, if that makes sense. I know. Yeah. It was a mindset shift where I was just like, you're right. Just having inbox zero, it shouldn't, like, yes, I like having no emails and kind of having a clear mind about things so I can focus
Sure.
on my own stuff. But a lot of times when you're answering emails or using that as your task list for yourself, it takes away from the work that you might want to be doing or prioritizing.
Yeah, definitely. I one day I'll get to inbox zero, but this helps me.
I know.
This
You
helps
don't
me feel
have
better
to.
about my 10,000 whatever
Oh
email.
gosh, don't tell me that.
Anyway, Cass, what was your favorite piece of advice?
Ooh, once again, so many. But I really liked what Charlie Gerard had to say about being your own cheerleader, and especially when it comes to getting promotions. Let's take a look.
You have to basically be your own cheerleader and track your own work, and it's not something I like to do. It doesn't come naturally to me at all. But I wish that if I had known years ago that it works that way, then I could have grown like that skill as well to promote yourself in a better way, and maybe my career would have been different. And I just wish that we didn't, keep broadcasting that message of like, oh, if you work hard, it's just gonna happen, because it doesn't. I feel like that's a skill we should probably teach people as well, like how to promote your work in the right way, or how to understand, how to ask questions in your company to figure out what you should focus on if your goal is to be promoted, or all that stuff.
Yeah, that's such a good point. It's really an awkward position when you're, just trying to talk about yourself and
Right.
create accolades for yourself. But obviously it's so important when you're trying to move up the ladder, and just good to reflect in general on, all the things that you've done.
Yeah, I tell people this, and I admit I'm not very good at it myself, but I'm trying to walk the walk and not just talk the talk. It's good to have some kind of brag doc where whenever you do something that goes well, just write it down somewhere. Even if it's just a bullet pointed list of like a post-it somewhere, just having something that where you can log all the things that you've done. So when it comes time for a promotion, you have details of it. Or just if you're updating your LinkedIn, the fact that you have everything written down, or your resume or something, you can use that and have something to refer to instead of just being like, what did I do for the past year or two at this job? I don't know.
Truly. There's always that saying that's like, I don't even know what I ate for dinner last night, or I don't know what I'm going to eat for lunch today. And it's like, yeah, you really need some place to document all the things that you've done, or else you're going to kind of end up in that state of like, oh, what did I do like 4 months ago that was impactful, or, all that stuff.
I used to work on a team where at the end of every week, we would just write down, these are the things that I did this week in a chat room. I would just forget every time. I'd be like, I know I worked this week. I worked really hard this week. What did I do? And so just write things down. That's my high level summary there, because it'll not only help you get promoted, but it'll also help you just remember things sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
Another guest that had a lot of really great anecdotes was Michael Chan, and I really liked what he talked when he was talking about just being kind in general.
Something that I learned, or I heard early on, is that there's a staggering lack of kind people in tech, and I think that that's still true. I think it was maybe more true now. I think that there are just nicer people in the world in general now, but I think that it's very true that like you can go really far by just not being a jerk and just being someone that people don't hate being around.
I think that's so important, especially in an industry where, you're working with a lot of professionals, and it's an ever-growing industry where there's so much knowledge out there. And, a lot of people may not be up to date on, what is the latest, greatest way to do things, or what is the latest and greatest tech. It's good to be compassionate and understand people's viewpoints and where they're coming from. And it just helps everyone, at least from a learning perspective, just grow better.
Yeah. And in general, too, I think a lot of people, especially like in the Twitterverse and people who are very, very involved in the tech industry and like all of the social dynamics of open source, all of these different things, you have a lot of context that not everybody has. And so sometimes people might make jokes or make certain references and stuff where you think it's obvious, but really you end up alienating people who aren't as in the know as you are. And I think that is a type of kindness to bring people in rather than kind of push people out by being as open as possible rather than like trying to be in the in crowd with the cliques that ultimately form around certain technologies and projects and things that are all over the place.
Agreed. And speaking of new technologies, I also really liked what Suze Hinton had to say about avoiding FOMO when there's so many new tools and new technologies coming out. Let's take a look.
Don't jump on the hype train and just try and introduce something you read about on Hacker News like this morning. Just things like that. Just like think about what is actually useful, what is something that, is actually going to address my needs now, and try to avoid the hype train. Try to avoid that feeling of FOMO. It's like, oh, well, if I'm not playing with it, then I'm not cool or something. It's just things are going to come and go. And you've really just got to focus on, the other side of it, which is like who you're building for and things like that.
It's so tempting to take a ride on the Hype Train Express for all of the new tech. And there's so many blogs that I've read recently where it's just conflicting viewpoints like, am I stupid for doing this? No, you're not stupid for doing this. Yes, you are. No, you're not. And it's all just opinions. And chances are you're not being dumb. Chances are you're just building with what you know. And I think like if you're trying to build for an audience, pick the tools that you're comfortable with that you'll be able to maintain and then improve as you go. And don't just necessarily use the latest and greatest because it's the latest and greatest.
Totally agreed. I think there's a lot of like latest and greatest comes out and then there's this period of like people saying, oh, we need to refactor our software to do around all of this. And I know it's in beta, but it's amazing and it's so cool. And it's like, cool. Well, maybe it's not the most important thing because it's shiny, but good to play with.
It's fun to play with those things when you're just playing with it, but you don't necessarily want to be on the bleeding edge of stuff when you're building something for production because, hey, if something goes wrong, there probably aren't Stack Overflow questions for that. You're probably going to be on your own. And so there's a lot of things that you want to take into consideration before jumping on the latest and greatest thing.
ChatGPT will not help you in this case yet.
Yeah,
it has not learned.
Trained for that. Well, I think a lot of people are going to relate to this next segment because nobody's nerfect. Nobody's perfect, and we mess up sometimes. And the difference is our mistakes are recorded. And so let's take a look at some of the bloopers from previous episodes.
Life-changing. My life has changed. I have hair now. It's wild. I can afford shampoo. It's...
I'm so glad that tech gave you hair. Let's make sure to put that in an ad somewhere.
Yeah.
Sorry, my dog is like trying to get my attention. But yeah, I'm very happy that I get to have like a big makerspace workshop at my current place.
And okay, I just want you both to imagine this, right? So you're typing something in the terminal and you messed up something like the second. It's incredible. Everyone has to download this. Seriously, I can't recommend it enough. I can't. I should have asked if I could curse in here. Yes, I was gonna learn how to code. Apparently they can bleep it, so that's fine. I mean, you should learn how to code. There's so many jobs, but does it work? Yes. Is it disgusting code? Yes. Did I one time even gave it to a friend of mine because she needed some code that did the exact same thing, and she looked at me and was like, I'm not gonna judge you because I'm gonna use it, but what the is that? Yes.
And now it is time for our awesome sponsors to talk about... Wait, no. Hold on. And now... and now it is time to hear God, why can I not talk today? Okay. Now it's time for... And now it's time to hear about our awesome sponsors, Launch Darkly. All right. It's now time to hear from Launch Darkly. Wait. We're not hearing from Launch Darkly. I mess this up every time. Okay. And now it's time for our lovely sponsors, Launch Darkly. Okay, anyway, I'm gonna try that again. Sorry, recording people, I mess this up every time. Okay, well, speaking of GraphQL and caching, it's time to... God. Okay, I got it, okay. And now the last time... Oh, God, okay, Okay. And for the last time, we have our lovely sponsors, Launch Darkly. Let's hear from them. Wait, no. It's not hearing from them. It's I can't. I just thought about that. And now a word. No, it's not a word from Launch. I can't do it today. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm turning right now. Okay. And now for the last time. God, why can I not do this today? Yes, okay. I'm sorry. Okay. And now for the last time, Launch Darkly. I'm so sorry. I could. I don't know what's going on.
Bye. Cut. Bye. Cut. See you next time. Bye, everybody. Thanks again. Cut.
All right. And lastly, what is your most used emoji?
Probably the emoji where the face is melting into a puddle. That one is used a lot because it describes my emotional state accurately a lot. And also the cowboy emoji I like a lot. I'll just send that to people without a lot of context. And
yeah.
Like,
the cowboy is like, just like, hello?
Like, are you all right? No.
I do think it's
Oh god.
Just try that with your friends. Like, just pop that in the chat. Someone you haven't talked about to for a couple
just
months.
Yeah,
just that. And
I kind of want to now. And you should all know that while the clips were playing, Zach was messing up already. It never ends.
Love that. Love everything being recorded. Oh my god, I'm still laughing about the cowboy emoji.
That one, like, something about the way she said the cowboy stuff, I had to, like, grip onto my chair and stop myself from crying laughing. It broke something in me. And I've gone back and watched that episode multiple times just because I couldn't handle it. It was so funny.
Yeah.
When Sarah was swearing so much, like,
oh my word.
There was some stuff to bleep. I don't even know if we could. It was really funny, and I was just like, please.
We need like a dev morning show really late at night, like explicit version, and then we just air that episode. just in its raw state. Yeah.
I hate TypeScript and just bleeping it all.
Oh my gosh. So good.
Oh man.
What was your favorite blooper?
Oh gosh. I mean, what was particularly funny were all of the episodes where it was just dogs trying to get their owner's attention. or like there were so many times where someone would be talking, they're like, my dog is scratching at the door, could you hang on for a second? Or that's barking. And that happened enough times that I appreciate that it was a frequent occurrence.
Oh my gosh, totally. I actually remember, I forget whose episode it was, but it was the episode where we were recording an episode and suddenly they just dropped off the podcast and we were like, what happened? And it was because I think their browser ran out. They were running an incognito browser.
Okay, as much as I love this story, wasn't that you? Didn't your browser crash?
That did happen in the last episode. I was.
Who's that idiot that happened to? It was me.
It's me. It was no. Do you remember? It was like they were running the podcast and recording it in an incognito browser on Chrome, but I think for some reason in incognito browsers you only have a certain limit on your memory, and it like stopped the whole recording, and then she just dropped off, and we were like, "What just happened?"
Oh, I think that might have been Sean Day. I don't know, but it happened to you most recently.
It did. I am a victim. Yeah, love bloopers.
It's so funny. But anyway, I think that's all the time we have for the day. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in and watching. We've had such a blast recording this season of the show, and we hope to record future seasons. So let us know what you've thought, what some of your favorite episodes were, anything that you like or dislike, I guess, your favorite joke, all that jazz. But it's been really, really fun getting to hang out with Zach regularly and chat with such awesome guests that we've really just loved hanging out with.
Agreed.
Well, that being said, thanks for tuning into the finale. Bye!
Bye!
And cut. And once again, because making podcasts is expensive, this show is brought to you by Launch Darkly. Launch Darkly toggles peaks of 20 trillion feature flags each day, and that number continues to grow, and you should use them. You can head over to launchdarkly.com and learn about how. Thank you for making this show possible, Launch Darkly. I've been Cassidy Williams. You can find me at Cassidoo, Cassidoo, on most things, and I'm CTO over at Contenda.
And I'm Zach, and I'm a dev rel at Rive, and you can find me on Twitter at Zach Plata.
Thank you for tuning into the Dev Morning Show at night. Make sure you head over to our YouTube channel where you can like and subscribe. You can also listen to the audio version of this wherever you get your podcasts. Bye. Cut. Bye. Cut. See you next time. Bye, everybody. Thanks again. Cut.